Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video, and I really hope that this reaches you and speaks to you in some sort of way and has a positive impact on you, whether you are somebody who struggles with mental illness or a stay-at-home mom like myself who has struggled with mental illness. Now, I've been a stay-at-home mom since 2016. There was a moment in time when I was working, but it just wasn't something that I felt was meant for me, so I went ahead and just left that job and came back to being a stay-at-home mom, which honestly has been such a blessing to me. But that doesn't mean that I haven't struggled with some things during this time. Now, I have struggled with postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, and postpartum rage, which I know a lot of people don't even know is existent, the rage part. I know a lot of moms have struggled with the rage and the anger, but there's just such a stigma around that I feel like a lot of moms don't come forward and talk about that. And that's something that I really feel is important. So people know that what you feel it's okay, but you should be able to vocalize it. You shouldn't be ashamed of how you feel or the things you're struggling with. You need to seek help, because you see so many headlines on the news about how moms kill their kids, and then of course the comments on social media are flooded with what an evil person, she deserves to rot in hell, or we should kill her the way she killed her kids. But for me, and I'm not making excuses for this, because murder is murder and a punishment should be done. There should obviously be a punishment, but at the same time I feel bad, because what if one day, like, my rage had led to that? How would I feel? Just one thing that happened, everybody would be crucifying me for it. And it's really sad. And I do believe that people like that need to be punished, but also we need to really focus on the issue. And the issue is mental illness. It's just like so many people look at you as weak or crazy or something negative, and it makes people so afraid to come forward and say, I'm struggling. And I was one of those people where I struggled really, really bad, but in silence. I didn't even tell my family how I was struggling. The only person that really knew were my kids and my husband. And that's because there was days when I was just on edge all day. Things started piling up on top of me: laundry, dishes, lunch, putting the kids for a nap, or whatever daily things that I had to do. It would just pile up, and I would just feel so stressed out because I was trying to do it all on my own. My husband, of course, was working, so I felt like I had to be that perfect Christian mom. I had to be the perfect Christian wife, everything done, everything settled, and I just couldn't do it on my own. And trying to do it on my own was really tough. And there was times when I heard other Christians say, well, you just don't have enough faith. That's why you're struggling. Or you don't trust in God's plan. Maybe if you trusted in him, things would be different. Which, of course, like, I understand where they were coming from, but unless you've been through this, you don't understand. You don't get it. You don't know what it feels like. You don't know the struggle, how one moment you could be getting dinner ready and you drop something, drop the can opener or whatever, and that just triggers you and you explode. And that happened to me. I'd be screaming, yelling, throwing things, doing this all in front of my kids, and they're soaking it in, learning how to handle their emotions from me as a mom, as a parent. And I knew that God really spoke to me and said, is this how you want your children to act to their emotions? And I was like, no, Lord, I don't want them to handle their emotions like this, because it's a horrible feeling when you lose control. It feels so ugly when you act that way, because you know that's not how you want to act. In your mind, you're thinking, I don't want to act this way. I want to stop. But you literally can't control it. It's like something takes over you. And it's so hard to describe and for other people to understand unless they've been through it. But I remember there was a moment when my daughter had dropped a bowl of cereal or something, and I was very upset with her. I started yelling at her, like, what are you doing? Pick it up. And, she's a little girl. She's only 2 years old. And I remember I went to the restroom and I came out, and, she cleaned it up. She's really good about cleaning up. So I was just, for whatever reason, feeling stressed out. But when I came out, I noticed my 3-year-old son was underneath the kitchen table wiping up some water. And I said, "Did you spill water?" And I remember his face. It was just a look of fear. Like he was so scared. Like mom's about to yell at me. She's about to get crazy. And I stopped and I looked at him and I thought, why am I putting this fear in my child? Why am I trying to scare my child like this? He made an honest mistake. I've dropped water, I know, and nobody's yelled at me, so why should I yell at him? I said, it's okay, it's fine, it happens, clean it up. And I knew at that moment God was starting to change my heart and starting to just speak to me and tell me, you know, your children are looking at you. You're setting an example on how they should handle emotions. Do you want your children to fear you, or do you want them to be able to come to you and talk to you about their emotions? And I know for me, it was really hard dealing with my mental illness. And when I finally came forward, I made a post about it on Facebook, and I was surprised at how many people actually reached out to me and said they struggled with the same thing, because it's so easy for us on the outside to look like we're perfect, or to put out this persona that we're perfect wives and perfect moms. Our families are perfect, when in reality, they're struggling with the same thing as me. But I just would never know. Now, one thing that I did do when I started struggling with my depression, because, you know, being a stay-at-home mom, it gets lonely. You're here with kids all day. You hardly have adult interaction. The most interaction I had was going to church on Sundays. But even then, I wasn't really involved in anything. So I was sitting at church one day, and I remember the pastor had made an announcement that they're holding a mom's group. And I was like, a mom's group? I didn't even know about that. Like, I could really benefit from this. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to try to go. I'm going to do this. I'm going to step out of my comfort zone, because I'm one of those moms that, like, at student pick up and drop off, I'm like standoffish. I don't talk to anybody. I'm like really awkward and weird. I hate small talk. I'm not good at it, you know? And I'm kind of shy sometimes, so I don't really say much if I don't know you. But once I know you, I blab a lot. I'm a talker. But I decided to step out of my comfort zone and reach out to some people at my church, which were the moms. And I remember the first time that I tried to go, there was like a mix-up. Like online, it said the moms group started at, I think, 10 or 10:30. And in the announcements, it said 11. So I was very confused. My husband called the church and was like, hey, like, what's going on with mom's group? They're like, oh, well, it already started, so it's almost over. And I remember being so upset, like, wow, I didn't even get to go. I was looking forward to this, like reaching out to other moms and just being able to connect to people. Now, this actually happened before I made the post. So let me rewind a little bit. But all this happened before the rage and all that stuff. But this is something that helped me out a lot, reaching out to other moms. You know, eventually did be able to make it to the moms group. And I met some really awesome ladies, some really supportive ladies. And I'm really glad that God put them in my life. And I really recommend for you moms out there, reach out to other moms that are like-minded. You know, it doesn't have to be a church. I understand not everybody's Christian, but for me, it was very important that I had that example, that godly example or guidance from other moms that have been through situations like this, and just to be able to relate to, so they know exactly how I feel or what I deal with. Now, another thing that you can do that can honestly really help, and I know a lot of people don't like to do it, especially Christians. They don't want to go down this path because they do kind of feel like they are lacking in faith. But my oldest son, my 11-year-old, at the time he was 10, we put him in therapy for some things that, you know, he was struggling with. And I seen how much it benefited him. So it kind of gave me the push to go see a therapist myself. Now, I was kind of iffy because I really wanted a therapist that was Christian and understood my values and my morals and how I felt and why I dealt with things the way I did. But, you know, I went to the one that my insurance approved, and it turns out she was actually a Christian woman, so it worked out really well. I felt a little uncomfortable at first talking to her, but at the end of that first visit, like, I felt like a weight just lifted off my shoulders. In 2016, I was about 8 months pregnant, and I got fired from a job that I was working at for about 9 months, excuse me, 9 years. So I was there almost a decade, 8 months pregnant. I was about to take my leave in like 3 days, and they pulled me into the office and they let me go. And it was really hard for me not knowing what was going to happen next, or where my finances were going to come from, how I was going to be able to help provide for this new baby, my son, and my husband. Of course, my husband was working there as well, but he wasn't working as many hours and wasn't making as much as me, just because he hadn't been there as long. Which, yes, by the way, we met at work. So now we used to work together. We'll work for the same company, but separate. But anyway, that's sidetracking. So I got fired, and about 2 months later, I had my son. And after I had my son, I think maybe a few months later, my mom got really sick. I think he was 5 months old. She got really sick, and that was extremely difficult for me, seeing my mom, because she was such a huge support system with my oldest child. When I was working, she'd take him to school, pick him up, do all that like extra stuff that I didn't realize my mom did, and stuff that I took for granted. Now I have my 5-month-old, which my mom, like, and I know all grandparents feel this way, but my mom adored her grandkids. Like, she wanted to spend as much time, and she did whatever it took to help provide for them, even if it meant her sleeping in holy pajamas or wearing holy undergarments or whatever it was. She would do that just so she can help us out when she knew we were struggling. And we never asked her, but that's just how my mom's heart was. And I didn't expect her to help me out once I lost my job, but even just that emotional support, to have that when I did lose my job, it was really hard, not being able to go to her and talk to her about my feelings. It was just a really hard time for me. And then a while later, she ended up passing away, which it's a really hard situation to understand without knowing the story, which I don't really want to get into right now. But just know it was really hard when she passed away. When she was really sick, I got pregnant with my daughter less than a year after I had my middle son, Micah. So going through that pregnancy and just everything without my mom being there was really difficult for me. It was really hard for me. And then you guys know my labor and delivery story. That happened a month and a half after my mom had passed away. So while I was this big pregnant lady, my mom passed away, which was really difficult for me. I remember when we found out she passed away, like, I just broke, and I was so scared it was going to stress the baby out. So I was like, suck it up. Don't say much. Don't do anything. Like, that's it. No more. You're not, like, you can't feel this way because you don't want to stress the baby out. And I didn't let myself fully grieve. And I know that had a lot to do with my mental illness and everything that I've been through. So I went through all these changes and all these different things, and having these two wonderful, amazing new babies on top of my oldest son, who was going through his struggle with his mental illness as well. It was just really hard for me, and I didn't know how to process it. And all that is to say, like, therapy is okay. Medication is okay. It's fine. It's just about finding the balance and finding where you feel it's right. The best thing that you could do with any situation is to pray. Pray and ask God for guidance and to help you walk down the path that He wants you to walk down. I know I tried medication out for a little bit, and it's something I prayed about, and I decided to go a little bit more natural route and do things naturally without the use of medication, and it's helped a lot. But honestly, even just going to the therapist, it helps so much. It helped me so much. And she's the one that kind of put into perspective, like, all these things changed here for you in this small amount of time. No wonder you feel the way you feel. And for the first time ever, I felt like somebody understood, and somebody wasn't judging me for how I felt. And it felt good. It did feel good. And one thing I also didn't mention, that I was going through, my husband and I decided to open our own business, which was very difficult too. I am the type of person who stresses out so easily, and it hasn't been easy, but thank God, he's really honestly helped us to grow this business. And I 100% believe that if it weren't for God and trusting in his plan, that our business wouldn't be where it is. And I'm so grateful and thankful for everything that God has done for my life and every blessing he's given me. And I know if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have been able to handle any of this, because realistically, if I didn't have God in my life and his word and his promises and him guiding my path, I could have easily gone astray. I could have turned and did some bad things, or I could have really hurt myself or really hurt my kids because of everything that I was going through. But honestly, all glory goes to God. It does. Like, he deserves it. And I know not everybody's a believer, but I am. I am very strong in my faith, and I know who my God is, and I know who I serve. And I know that God's providing this platform for me to reach out to somebody that's struggling with the same thing. Even if it means that I only reach like one person, two people, whoever, a small amount of people. It doesn't have to be this large crowd. I am thankful that God has put this in my heart to reach out to everybody, so people know and understand that mental illness is serious, and we do need to speak about it. Because the more we speak about it and the more we reach out and accept people with mental illness, the more easier it will be for people to come forward, especially new moms. Like, you see it so many times in the news, and it's really sad that, they're killing their babies or they're snapping and going crazy. And then you see all the negative comments, and it hurtful. Because I've struggled with that. I know what those moms were feeling. I didn't hurt my children, obviously, but I know that's something that I struggled with. And it's not a good feeling when people just speak so negatively about like what you struggle with, and it's something that you really can't control. But I do honestly encourage you, if you are going through a struggle, if you are going through depression, anger, anxiety, whatever it is, reach out to somebody, seek the help. Like, it sucks. It's not a good feeling when you're driving down the freeway and a million different scenarios are playing in your head on how you can get in a car accident, how your car could blow up and explode, and which child would you get out first, or thinking of all the different scenarios that your child could die, or how your husband can die, or just how your life can change so much in an instant. Literally obsessing about it when you're driving, or obsessing about it when you're sitting there eating dinner, like imagining your child just choking on food and you not knowing what to do, even though you are like CPR, Heimlich, when you were certified, whatever, you know what to do, but you still play these scenarios, and it sucks. It's an ugly feeling, not being able to sleep at night, tossing and turning, all that stuff. So I just really encourage you to pray and seek help. Reach out to somebody, whether it's somebody in your church, like a pastor, or your family, or a therapist, or anybody. Just reach out so that you could just feel better, so you can know that there are people there that love and support you, especially a God that loves you. He loves you enough that, he forgives you whenever you make mistakes. He loves you enough that he sent his son to die just so you can be forgiven. And I know that this message may not reach certain people because they don't believe in God, and that's perfectly fine. And I understand, because I was at that point once in my life, and that's probably another video that I can talk about another time. But for those people who believe in God and know who God is, I really honestly encourage you just to pray and ask God for guidance. That's the best thing you can do. And just know that it's okay. It's okay. Like, you're not a bad person for struggling. You're not. It's your emotion to how you feel. And maybe God's using this journey so you can reach out to other people as well. But thank you guys so much for listening to me talk about my mental illness journey. And there's so many other things that I could have gone into, but just decided to just kind of brush over it. And maybe eventually I will talk about some of the other issues that I have had. But for now, just know there's an awesome God who loves you, and he would do anything to make you happy and just make things easy for you. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm so glad you did watch it. And please subscribe so you can see other videos that I'm going to put out. Hopefully not all of them are dark and heavy like this, but you know, I do plan on making some cool videos, like maybe a husband tag or something fun to lighten up the mood a little bit. Because, you know, my last video was about me almost dying, and then this one's about my mental illness. But I just hope that it reaches you, and I just want to thank you guys so much for listening to me, and have a wonderful day. God bless.